Let's see. Let's go with Nexi here. Hey Abe, at first I was interested in working on VFX, so I just to make realistic characters, but over time I started to enjoy creating stylized characters more. Now I'm shifting towards the game industry and want to focus on making either hand-painted or PBR characters. In your opinion, which style should I focus on to find a job more easily in the game industry? PBR or hand-painted unlit? Take a look. That's a great question. I think, oh, that's very funny. I actually saw this concept not too long ago. There you go. Yeah, you nailed it. Saw this mermaid concept. I was like, oh, I really want to do it. There you go. You already did it. Nice. So that's a good question. Games will always have a little bit of everything, right? Like we're always going to have realistic kind of games, and we're always going to have more sort of like stylized kind of games. The stylized ones are the ones that I think are going to be a little bit more difficult in certain things to be matched by AI. The realistic stuff is probably going to be matched a lot easier or easily. So it really depends on what you want to focus on. Now, what I see here on your portfolio, Ali, is that you have a lot of stylized stuff. So if that's sort of like what you're vibing with, go for it. I also think that stylized has a more of a timeless like property to it. Like you can have a stylized game like Wind Waker, play it in 2025 and it's still gonna feel and look really, really cool. So I do gravitate to a little bit more towards stylized as well. This looks good. Now I would definitely recommend you go over like material definition and material rendering for your stuff, because right now in terms of hand painted things, it looks very flat, right? Like even your gold trims look a little bit too flat. Like there's not a lot of contrast going on. The hair looks very, very flat. I think you actually nailed the hair a little bit better on this one right here. And another thing that's going to be important is the silhouette of the characters. Again, I remember this concept. This is by Anastasia Kushnir. And one of the things that I really like about the concept is that there's a lot more silhouette definition. So, for instance, the hips can be made a little bit more exaggerated, kind of like a Disney princess. You can change or push the bracers out a little bit more so that they have a little bit more of a silhouette there. The tail could be a little bit thinner. So instead of having this blobby clay-like shapes, they can be flat planes and just paint them. And again, contrast-wise, it's a very sort of like good exercise that you can do to check your contrasts is just go to any like software or image editing software like this one and desaturate your element. Desaturate your element and see how much variation you have between the different elements. So for instance, here on the face, I barely see any difference in contrast, right? So the values here are very, very close together. You can see the little like sampler or the picker right there. Even if I go to the dark values and to the light values, we're in a very, very close element. And you can do that. Like I'm not saying I'm against doing that, like having a controlled sort of like value scale. I'm just saying that if you want to have a little bit more contrast, you can push some of the highlights a little bit more, okay? So that the image looks a little bit more punchy. Especially because, again, I remember the concept, and I know that this concept had a little bit more glossiness in some of the elements, okay? Let's see. No, I mean, it's... I was... okay, I said I didn't want to talk about AI, but I'm going to have to. Here's the thing, guys. AI is a tool. That's obvious to everyone. And AI will allow us to output more work than what we can normally output without AI. And I can tell you that, like, I use AI in my stuff for instance, the reels and things like that when I'm doing the subtitles or where I'm when I'm doing sort of like there are some even editing tools that you can use to remove all of the empty spaces or silences. So people who do great work and can incorporate AI into their stuff will continue to do great work. That's the reality of things. But I'm gonna be honest. I've had artists. I've hired artists throughout my years for projects, and not every artist that I've hired was a good artist. That's the reality of it. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there. I hope not anyone that's watching right now is one of those people. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are just not really good at their job. And those people, I would be scared for those people because AI might be able to replace them very easily if the stuff that they do in their day-to-day work is very simple, right? And you can say this about any industry. Like if there's an industry where your only job is to answer a telephone and say, hello, thanks for calling whatever place this is, let me get you to the right person. Like, unfortunately, that kind of job is going to be automated very, very easily. And I am sad because of the people that are going to be losing those kind of jobs. But we need to understand that, unfortunately, again, in this capitalistic society, how valuable you are and the kind of tools and skills that you can bring to the table are what are going to make you important, right? For a company or for a studio. So I will be worried, not because of the unemployment that's going to happen. If my skills were easy to replace, like all of them, I'm not just talking about like the technical skills or some of like the basic skills. If all of my skills were easy to replace, I would definitely be very, very, very scared. And I would try to focus on learning skills that are not going to be easily replaced, right? Again, soft skills like communication, leadership, in my case, for instance, instruction and things like that. So there's a lot of things that you need to, or rather, my best advice would be for everyone watching right now. If you're scared of AI, don't be scared of AI. Look at it as a tool that you can use to be a better artist and to offer a better service or a better product or a better something, right? Because that's going to be the differentiator for everyone using AI. It's similar to how computers like changed the thing back in the 80s, right, or the 90s. It's similar to how the Industrial Revolution changed the things back in the days of the Industrial Revolution. So we need to understand that this is not going to be stopped. Like, there's absolutely no way to stop it. I hope that they do regulate it a little bit more, because of course there's a lot of things that AI is doing that it's completely illegal, like stealing artwork and things like that. But since it's not going away, we need to find a way to utilize it and be more productive in the stuff that we already do. Okay? If you see an AI that can instantly replace you, then yeah, you need to do something about it, because it will replace you. But if you see an AI that's making it easier for you to do certain parts of your job, also use that as well to improve your output in your current job. I hope that's a little bit clear. Again, I don't have all the answers. I'm not working as an AI developer or anything like that, but it's something that we're seeing, and we're seeing it be very, very fast, right? Oh, how do we know we are replaceable? Again, if you can easily pinpoint to the activities that you normally do, Anthony, on your day-to-day sort of like a job, and you're like, okay, a computer, like a very smart computer, like an AI computer, could easily replace me if it's programmed to do what I do, that's a problem, right? Like, that's totally a problem, which is the exact same problem that every manufacturing industry has. If you're someone who's on a factory and the only thing you do is move one box from one place to the next one, a robot could replace you any day. It's just a matter of whether the company owners or the factory owners want to pay for a robot that does that specific tasks, right? Sometimes it's cheaper to have someone doing it by hand. And that's the stuff that we're going to see with AI as well. If we have something like BO3, right? And it can produce videos really, really quickly and things very, very quickly. But it takes me longer to do the prompts, and it takes me longer to prepare everything and to make sure that things match and then there's no inconsistencies and things like that. Well, at that point, it might be cheaper to just record whatever it is what I want to record by hiring someone that's doing the actual recording with the camera, right? So it's always going to be sort of like a trade-off in terms of what is the best option for a business. And again, that's sort of like capitalism talking, right? How would I use AI like Meshy as a tool? If you can generate the base mesh and then work from there, you can do it. I actually tried doing that in a job that I had a couple of months ago, and it did not go well. So it was not there yet, and I had the concept piece. I actually had like front view, side view, things like that. I got it into the AI trying to get like a basic base mesh to work from, and he gave me something that looked very, very sloppy. So it was just easier. It took me like 30 minutes to just do it inside of ZBrush. When it comes to a point where I can throw the concept piece art to something like Meshy, and it can give me again like a base mesh that it's clean, and then I can take that into ZBrush and keep working on it, then at that point, depending on how costly it is, it might be a good idea to introduce that tool into into my workflow. But the thing is, there's always going to be elements or objects that AI won't be able to resolve, and that's where the sort of like the frontier of our stuff is going to be. Because if you're doing a very sort of like abstract monster or creature that no AI can solve because it's very complex, you are going to have to use all of the foundational things that anatomy, proportions, and things like that to do it from scratch. So it's tricky, guys. It's tricky. Again, let's focus back on portfolio here, because I don't want to sort of like go into a big tangent, but we're gonna have another talk about AI soon. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, Ali, again, I think that you have a really good hand at stylized stuff. Keep doing that. keep doing that. You have some cool stuff. Just again, work a little bit more on your colors and your values, because I do feel like some of your stuff is looking a little bit flat and we're not seeing a lot of contrast. And doesn't mean that we need to go to the extreme like highlights and extreme shadows. It's just about adding a little bit more variation, okay?